I keep getting trees that customers bring to me, either because they don't know what to do with it, or they're scared to do anything to them, or they feel that I can do magic to the trees. So these 5 trees were brought to me by a lady who I would say is typical of a lot of people who have bonsai. They just either buy the bonsai or are gifted the bonsai, and they literally do nothing to the tree. They think that the trees will look after themselves. To a certain extent, it is correct. They also do some work because the history of all these trees is very, very interesting. And as you can see, they are all badly overgrown. Look at that juniper in that small pot. Look at that maple. Beautiful nibari, beautiful trunk in that small pot. And look at this white pine. If ever a tree has lost its way, it's this one. Completely lost its way. That one is not too bad because I've already done some pruning to that. And then this tree is the most interesting of them all. This tree, if you look at the roots, look at how the roots have gone round and round at the bottom. It wasn't in this pot, it was in a very shallow oval pot, but I put it here because I wanted to stand it upright. So that was the original root ball of the tree. She told me the history of this tree. I don't know the history of the other trees, but this history is most interesting. She purchased this tree in 1971, which is 51 years ago. And I think most of you may not have been born then, 1971. And she bought it from Tokonoma Bonsai, which was one of the largest importers of bonsai in the UK at the time. It has since, I think for the last 15 or 20 years, gone into liquidation. It doesn't exist anymore. So this was bought in 1971, and I can believe it. So if it's 50 years as a bonsai, I would say this tree could be at least 80 years old because it would have been this high in 1971. I've come across many trees that were purchased in the 1960s, and they have stayed very healthy and firm. So there are many of these trees knocking around in the UK which have been imported from Japan in the 60s and 70s, and this is one of them. So you are in for a treat because each of these trees is so complicated. You must be wondering, now Peter Chan has been caught, what can he do with trees like this? If ever there were problems, these are problems. Whenever you have a problem, don't look at the wider picture and get flummoxed or worried about how can I overcome all these problems. If you deal with a problem one at a time, they will all sort themselves out. So let us treat them one at a time, starting with the simplest ones. But because I want to save this lady some money, I'm going to use some of the pots that I'm going to take the trees out from so that I don't have to use new pots. Many of these trees, I would say, have not been done for about 30 or more years. So look at the root ball. Again, if ever this tree is pot bound, this is one. It's almost like a rock. It is almost like a rock. Look at that. You can't even break it up. Look at that. But yet the tree struggles to survive. So it just shows that these trees are very, very resilient. Extremely resilient trees. Now this poor white pine, I think it may have been repotted at some time. I think what has been used is almost like garden mud. So let us see if I can take this one. I have to bring a couple of special tools. If you just home in on that while I go find the tool. Oh, I just noticed that this tree is producing a cone, struggling to survive. I bet the seeds have germinated somewhere in her garden. So, using this sickle, a sickle is a very useful tool because we can cut around the edge of the pot and loosen the tree, and this will help get it out. if you're into serious repotting, this is a very essential tool, very, very useful tool to have around. And this again is an ordinary weeding tool, ordinary garden tool, and I use this as a lever to lever the root ball out. Sometimes if the tree is that pot bound, the pot breaks. But hopefully I try to save all the pots. I don't try to waste anything. I know some nurseries are so lazy, they just smash the pot. They tell the customer, oh, it's too hard to take out. I'll just smash it. There you are. And whoever potted this up has just used ordinary garden mud, but I think it's okay. There's a little bit of mycelium, so the tree is not too unhealthy. That is that one, but the difficult one is going to be this one. This maple, you can see, it is so pot bound. So pot bound. It is tied in. My God. This is a slightly incurved pot. I don't want to waste anything. If I can help it, I will try not to have to smash the pot. I can feel it is pot bound. I can't even get the sickle into the soil. It is as bad as that. It's amazing how this tree has survived, and the wire has been passed through the root that's completely embedded in the trunk. I don't think I can even get that wire out. So if ever there was a neglected tree, this is certainly one of them. Well, I don't say neglected in a bad way, because the tree is alive. So full marks for that. But badly pot bound, too small a pot. But because it's been kept in a small pot, you look at the roots, the nebari is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Wait till I work on this. And those of you who are more experienced can probably see the solution straight away. Again, judging by the soil, I think if you just use ordinary peat soil, again goes to show how resilient plants are. Given a chance, they refuse to die. I envy plants in a way because they outlive us as human beings. Many of the trees that I purchased from other people, many of these specimens that came from Japan in 1962, I'm the third owner, and the two previous owners, bless their souls, they've gone to the lovely place up in the sky, so the trees outlived them. But at least they're remembered for their trees, and that's a wonderful thought. I'm trying to be as careful as I can. Sorry if this is annoying anyone who thinks that this is such a tedious and boring task, but I'll try to be careful. Tease the roots, but before I do that, I just want to show you something that I just spotted on this tree. And if you home in on the camera, it doesn't often get observed, but this is what we call a scale insect, and inside there is an insect. Can you see? That is what you have to kill off. You know, they suck the sap of the trunk and they cause a lot of problems to maples. Many of the Acer family, sycamores, plane trees, they all are very prone to this type of scale insect. And if, there you are, you see there's another one here. You've got to spot it and squash it or kill it. Now, before I go any further, let me just put you out of your misery rather than get tangled up in all the branches. This tree has lost its way. So I think I need to bite the bullet and bring it back to some sort of reasonable shape. Far too big. I think that is more of a manageable size. I hope you agree with me. Straight away, the proportions have come back. I've only pruned like that long branch, that's all I pruned. And it's looking better. And this is the pot the white pine was in, so I think it would sit comfortably in that pot. So that is the plan of action. And this tree, I can use this pot. So I've saved her 2 pots. So let's tease the roots. I won't show you the whole process. When I tease it, I will show you how long the roots are. I dare say the roots must have gone round 20 times in a circle. It's like doing the 10,000 meter run. Don't break it off. Let's see how long it is. Let's disentangle it. I have once disentangled the root ball of a juniper, and you won't believe it was about 6 foot long, the roots, and the pot was only like 4 inches in length. So this pot is only 6 inches or 8 inches at most. So after about another 10 minutes, we managed to disentangle the roots, and it is that long. You must be asking me, why am I doing it at this time of the year? Because it's breaking all the rules. You know, these are usually done before the tree comes into leaf. And surely if you do it at this time of the year, you're going to endanger the life of the tree. But again, with everything, if you know what you're doing, then it is okay. What I'm going to do to minimize the risk of the tree dying is I'm going to defoliate the tree as much as possible. And the reason why I'm defoliating the tree is so that it doesn't put strain on the roots. When a tree is in leaf, it needs the roots to pump the moisture to the leaves, to supply the leaves with moisture. So if you interfere with the roots at the wrong time, like when we do repotting, it will stress the tree very much because it cannot get the supply of water. But if I defoliate, that means remove most of the leaves, I'm making the roots do less work. So if it is doing less work, it is not stressing the tree. So that gives the tree a much better chance of survival. So if you do your analysis and figure out what is good for the tree, then you can always work out a solution. So I'm not as crazy as you think. With most of these things, after all, it's rudimentary science. Science teaches you that if you analyze the process of growing and what works and what doesn't work, what plants need, you can devise a system to overcome these potential problems. So by defoliating most of the leaves, taking most of the leaves off, I'm putting less strain on the roots. Normally I would grow this tree again in complete moss, but I'm going to do a halfway house. That means I'm going to put a little bit of sphagnum moss and a little bit of soil around it. So let me prepare the pot. I put the mesh, I put the wire, and as I was mentioning a minute ago, because this tree has had quite a lot of root removed and at not really the correct time of the year, I'm going to surround it with some moss doing the proverbial Peter Chan moss trick. This again is a New Zealand moss. This is the best quality moss. We get moss locally, but it's not as good as the New Zealand moss. And I'm going to tie the tree in. Okay, I'll have to just tie it temporarily. It's just to prevent the tree from rocking about. So that's the moss, but around the moss I'm going to put soil. This is our standard bonsai compost mix. So it's a halfway house. It's moss surrounding the roots and then soil surrounding the moss. Different people will devise different methods of making their trees survive. So if you understand the trees and what works for you, that's fine. I always hate to impose my views and say, only my way works. No, everyone has a fund of knowledge that they have built up over the years, and they are also quite clever in what they do. I think one of the biggest mistakes in life is to assume that you know everything. If you think you know everything, then I think you know nothing. So there you are, that's how I potted it up. And the most important thing is that because we have this greenhouse facility where we have a very damp and humid atmosphere, it will help to bring the tree through. I'm also going to seal the ends. Although these are small cuts, I will still seal it, because every little thing that we do to help the tree has to be done. So these ends can lose moisture, and if they lose moisture, it puts stress on the trees. So even little cuts like this I've sealed up with the sealant. Normally I don't bother with very small cuts, but in this case, because I've been very severe with this tree, I have to do that. So now if you look at this tree, it looks much better than what it started off life as. So that is that one done. We will now deal with the Chinese juniper. I often mention that there are some books and some Japanese growers, in fact, they will jet every grain of soil off the tree and start afresh. I don't like doing that because I found that that can be very stressful on the tree. So I will just loosen the soil, get some of the old soil off, but you see I haven't taken all the soil off. And now let's see what pot I can put it in. I think that pot which the maple was planted in, that would be a good sized pot. So I'm not cutting any root, you notice. So I'm going to pot this up. Okay. Put wires on every single branch bar this one, and I think this is going to be the shape of the tree. I'm giving a little twist to it to tighten the branches to bring it close. As I say, I'm always amazed at what a little bit of wire can do. Change the shape of these trees. So basically I'm just trying to put the whole thing in a conical shape, and there you are. It is a big change from what it was before, and the original pot shouldn't be used because it's not the right one. So we're going to put it at this angle in this micropot. We don't need to spend masses of money on a new pot. So this angle of planting, and we will show you the tree again. Okay, so this tree is going to form a separate video because it's going to take quite a while. I love working on projects like this because it is like not just a jigsaw puzzle, it's like a major problem that you have to find the solution for. Now, when you've got an overgrown, neglected tree like this, what do you do and where do you start? To begin with, the tree trunk is so stiff and old. Mind you, she purchased this tree in 1971 and it was imported probably from Japan maybe in the 60s. So I reckon this tree is over 80 years old since when it was first started as a bonsai, and it's completely lost its way. It's just a shrub. It's what we would call a piece of raw material. So the conventional bonsai would not work for this tree. It must have been just a straight tree with that as the leader and some other branches have grown. The small shoots have grown too long. So it's completely lost its way. So I assume that this lady is giving me a free hand and I'm going to style it in the way I think is best for this tree. So looking at this tree, I can see that there are some branches, both thick and thin. So let's keep the trunk straight. That is given. I cannot change that. There are many things in life you cannot change. So let's live with that. I will show you again what this lady has done. She's tried a bit of wiring, and all she has done is use a bit of aluminium wire and tied the branches close together, hoping that that is called wiring. It's amazing how many people do this and they think that this is wiring a tree. No way. So that is her attempt at wiring, which I don't think really works. So let's get rid of that. And what I had in mind, because it has some smaller branches, I'm going to make it like a tall tree that you would find in the forest. In North America, there are plenty of them, like these giant redwoods, tall giant redwood tree. So let us begin by taking some of these longer branches off and start again. You can make bits of gin with it. This is very long. Take this off. Already the tree looking a bit smaller. Okay, I won't take much more off at this stage. Let me introduce a few bits of driftwood. So making gins, we don't want the gins to be too long. So let's just make some short gins. It's really tearing the wood back and give a torn effect. And then you can take your time to refine it. I like the roots, the surface roots. It's weird, but it gives an antiquity to the tree. Look at these gnarled old roots. So some of these can also be ginned back. So again, to show you what we do, we just make a sloping cut away from the branch. And then we pull it to the face that you can see. The front of the tree is this side. I forgot to mention that this is clearly the front. I wouldn't dream of using any other side because it's fairly open. But in this one, a bit of a weird gin torn like that. Sloping cut, and then we tear the branch. Okay. So you can see that we're shortening the entire tree. I don't know about that, we will decide in a minute. So let us start by wiring some of these and see where we get. So we'll wire that. Rest assured, all I'm going to do is wire every single branch that can be wired, and then we will arrange the branches where we want it to be. This is going to be quite a transformation. I can already envisage this tree in my mind's eye, what it looks like. So there's going to be a lot of wiring to do. In fact, this is an instance where I'm not going to spend hours just showing every tiny bit of wiring. I know you say that it's not boring, but I feel it's boring. a lot of wiring to do. Okay. As I said, I'm not going to show everything. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to wire, and then when I've done the wiring, I will show you. Wiring is something you can't really rush.
The roots grow so quick. Things pop down very quickly.
So these are the branches. That's going to be wired like that. I'm not sure about this lowest branch. I might take that off. And then these long branches we have to deal with somehow. They're far too long for the design. It's really very, very heavy. It will bud back. This person has not trimmed it at all in all these 48 or 50 years that she's had the tree. You can already see the tree because I'm going to wire some of these down like that. That one may eventually go. But let's see what we do with the top here. That's the crown. I probably don't need all that crown. It's a bit much there. Again, looking at the tree from this as the front, you can see already the tree looks different, radically changed. So that one can go down there. Look at all that taken off. That's a lot. So we're just going to wire the rest and we will see what outcome we get. So that's going to be wired. So I'm going to show you what it's going to be like. So I'll just apply some thick wires and we will take it from there. Okay. So this project has taken me longer than I expected. I've already worked about 3 hours on it. And I've only got that far. And see, I've cut quite a lot off. Usually when I work on a tree, I don't cut too much. And look at all that foliage. So I think I have taken about half the foliage off and it's still not there. So you see the image of the tall parkland tree I'm trying to make, but I'm not fully satisfied with it because the top is still about too wide. I need to bring it tighter to make a conical shape. So I've done some wiring at the back If you come close, you see I put wires on it, but I haven't bent it. So I'm now going to bend it down to make the branches hang downwards. If I put the tree, now there's a front and a back. This is the front of the tree. So I'm going to bring these branches down. As you will know by now, I always like to make these branches look old, and old branches are branches that hang downwards. So this is what I'm going to do, make it hang downwards like so. I've got to wire some of these pads still, and you can see it's still top heavy there, so I need to make this more conical shape like this. So I'm going to put more wires on it and see if I can make the thing more conical like that. Can you see that effect? So that the top is more conical rather than a flat top. So I'll carry on wiring and then you will see the finished result. So I think I've finished the tree. I don't want to tinker too much with the top. I know I can bring it more into a conical shape, but at least it gives the impression of a very mature, tall parkland tree. The branch on the right, there's a case for cutting it off over here and making gin, but it's nice over there. You do get trees in nature which have a long lower branch, so I wouldn't rush to take that off. If I took it off, the tree would become very ordinary. So this makes the tree special. So I've managed to get more or less a crown shape, a dome shape, and I've only used a mica pot. That mica pot only cost £39, so that won't break the bank. The original pot was an oval Japanese unglazed pot, but as you can see it is much smaller, so I'll give this tree a chance to grow. Nice formal upright tree. So there you go. I've managed to solve this design problem. So I hope you enjoyed this video. So let's review the trees. There's the Chinese juniper in the middle. This is the Japanese white pine that we restyled into that shape. Small Chinese juniper kept in that same pot, and that maple, we reduced it to half the size, and hopefully when the new branches come it will look different. And this Chinese elm, I just pruned it. I'm afraid I didn't get a before picture, but it was twice the size that you can see now. So this customer has 5 trees, so I hope she will be very happy. And we've taken almost the entire day, 6 hours to work on all these trees, and with me working very fast. So there you are. I hope you've enjoyed this video.